Welcome back. Kerala's Wayanad has been hit by an unspeakable tragedy. Death and destruction can be seen all across the district. The rescue operation continues on a war footing even as death toll continues to rise and has now reached 308. But rains and the challenging terrain have added to the difficulty, hampering rescue and relief efforts in several patches. Times Now has been closely tracking the rescue efforts, and here's how the things and the situation look on ground.
While on one hand there is massive destruction and devastation that the three landslides at Churalmala, Mundukai and surrounding areas brought to the fore, on the other hand there are stories, of course, of resilience, of efforts that have been put in by our rescue personnel, by our forces, that really have changed the course of this entire search and rescue operation. One such example is this bridge that I'm right now standing at. A bridge that was earlier washed away because of the landslide and now has been rebuilt by the Indian Army. The Madras Engineering Group, of course, constructing this bridge in less than about 48 hours. It was a task considering the amount of rains that were coming in. But more importantly, it was absolutely essential because they had to move earth movers on top. Now you can see an earth mover coming in from Mundukai village. The reason that was able to get there is the bridge that I'm right now standing at. Apart from that, of course, for the people moving, bringing in essentials, for the rescue teams coming in here, for the ambulances coming here as well, we saw on day one zip lines being used to move injured, to move mortal remains, and a small makeshift bridge, in fact, that was used earlier to, help people cross this river that is, of course, cutting across this stretch. But right now, we are looking at, of course, big efforts, and more important, big efforts that was put in by the army, because of which big dividends. And more importantly, the entire search operation at Mundukai, of course, has become quite extensive. The entire process has become much more faster thanks to the efforts of the Indian Army.
Deepak is joining us live on the broadcast. Deepak, we just played out your report. I believe you're reporting from the same bridge which has been built in record time. Has it helped the rescue officials on ground in speeding up the rescue operations?
Well, as you asked me that question, you just saw a vehicle, of course, cut across, and that's an example of how much help it has been. Earth movers are already on top. In a short while from now, I'll be on top, Swati, bringing our viewers up to speed as to how the search operations right now are. It would be a little too optimistic to say there are going to be rescue efforts because, it's been about 3 days now, and in all likelihood, to really rescue anybody alive would be a bleak possibility. But let me show you some of the efforts that are underway. These are areas that, of course, were inaccessible a couple of days ago. Thanks to this bridge and all the boulders that have been moved by the earth movers in the last couple of days, now you have the fire teams and the NDRF who are searching under these boulders, because there are body parts that are being found. Human bodies were, really cut into pieces because of the huge boulders as they were washed down the river. And even 80 kilometers from where I'm standing in Nilambur, there were about 40 bodies that were washed away and found there, and even body parts. So now through this entire stretch, there are teams that have been deployed who will go about 4 kilometers uphill. There is, of course, a forest on top. That is where, just below that is the Mundukai village, where over 100 homes, of course, were completely buried under the debris. So there are teams who have been deployed now across this stretch. I'm going to now move towards the left with my video journalist Pradeep, as I will show you these visuals, and probably we'll get a closer view of the rescue teams who are operating through this entire stretch with the river flowing from the forest. There are now this building, of course, that you see where there are earth movers operating. This was a government school, and you can see most of it has been washed away. Houses right now on top, of course, no longer exist. Because of this bridge, the Bailey Bridge that has been built by the Madras Engineering Group, you have heavy equipment, you have, earth movers, all of it now able to reach, on top. And that's where they are, digging through the rubble. Yesterday, about 14 bodies were found under the rubble. That's where I said, of course, right now, rescue probably would be a very optimistic statement to make. It's predominantly search operations that are going on.
Absolutely. That, in fact, is the priority at the moment. But like you said, as time passes, it is going to get extremely difficult. And finding a survivor now in the debris is only going to be a miracle, Deepak.
Absolutely. But, for the families right now in the relief camps, for the people, who've been evacuated from their homes, now they have missing family members. At least, searching, identifying and handing over their mortal remains would mean that they can conduct their final rites. And one would understand how much that would mean for the family, really, Swati. And that's really why, everybody here involved, volunteers, the fire department, the NDRF, the army, there's also the INS, everyone who's on ground, they are all working towards that for the sake of humanity, so that what they could do least is hand over the mortal remains to the family, so that they could conduct final rites. For many people at this point in time, the latest numbers that we are getting is distressing. There are over 100 body parts alone that have been found. There is no head, there is no torso. They are conducting, DNA sampling. They're trying to, in fact, in that way identify which family they belong to. So you can just imagine the trauma that they're going through. So even while they conduct these search operations right now, the efforts will be to, for the family to get some sort of relief, because they don't know. Many of them who are in relief camps right now have an entire family missing. There are young children who don't know where their parents are. There are, of course, elders who are missing. There are people who couldn't come. In fact, the army also made sure that several people at Mundakai village who were scared and trapped at one point in time were carried and brought down. So a lot of efforts.
One in fact, cannot at the moment step into the shoes of those family members, cannot understand their pain. There are some, like you said, who are praying to at least get back the mortal remains. Thank you very much, Deepa, for getting us those details. We'll keep coming back to you. Now, shifting our focus to the order, the gag order that was issued earlier, the Chief Minister has issued a statement clarifying. He says the news that the State Disaster Management Authority has instructed scientific and technological institutes and scientists not to visit and comment on Mepadi Panchayat in Wayanad as it has been declared a disaster area is misleading. The state government does not have such a policy. The Chief Minister then says the Chief Secretary was instructed to immediately intervene and tell concerned officer to withdraw this that had created such a misunderstanding. So that's a statement coming in from the Chief Minister, a clarification, offering a clarification on the gag order. With that, we're slipping into a quick break.